You're listening to Starship Prog with me, Dave Carmichael, on LCR, Liverpool Community Radio. Hi everyone, welcome to Starship Prog, another voyage into the cosmic world of fantastic music. My guest today is a well-known Liverpool musician, Andy Hesford. I'll be talking to Andy in a little bit about what's going on in Liverpool at the minute and his involvement with certain bands and that, and having a little sort of go on about what we all love and want to listen to, which is prog. I'd like to introduce Andy to you now, actually. Hi Andy, welcome to Starship Prog on the Captain's Brig.
On the Captain's Brig, yes, so the Starlog date, you know. Anyway, good afternoon, nice to speak to you, nice to be on Liverpool Community Radio.
Excellent. We've had a few chats, obviously, before the show, and one of the things which we were talking about was one of our mutual favourite bands, Pink Floyd, and like myself, they were one of your first forays into getting into progressive music, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, do you remember when albums were about £2.40 or something, you know, about 1973? I remember buying my first Pink Floyd album, which was Dark Side of the Moon, and I actually saved up my pocket money for weeks and weeks, and when I got paper round, of course, it just went basically on records. But I do remember that album I cherished in particular because it was like grown-up music. It wasn't like T-Rex or Slade. It was like I'd graduated to having grown-up records.
What was the first Floyd song you ever heard?
I would say it would actually be a little bit before that, because a friend of mine had Medal, and I was intrigued, and until you turn the cover around, you don't realise actually what it is. It's an ear underwater. But there was a song on it which, to this day, has a resonance in it, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's a very strange song to get into. And it's multi-layered in its meaning, but I love it. And it's a song called Fearless.
Know it well. With a bit of the old Rodgers and Hammerstein in there with the Cops singing away.
Well, interesting, Roger Waters is a football fan, but he chose a Liverpool crowd chanting "You'll Never Walk Alone." I can't understand that. Mind you, I suppose because they were fearless, certainly after their recent victories. We all dismissed the 1971 FA Cup final when they lost. But the
Charlie George one.
Liverpool versus Arsenal, yeah. I still remember I wept buckets then.
Well, I mean, I'm an Evertonian myself, there I say it, but on saying that, it was a great game, one I remember. One of the things with Fearless, with Medal, as you were talking about the cover, was Storm Folkestone, who obviously with Hypnosis was getting into creating these weird covers. The whole thing is a bit like, you know, if you're into Yes, you'd see Roger Dean covers. That was all part of the packaging and the mystique, if you like, of prog music. What I'd like to do now is to actually play Fearless for our fans and or fan. Hope you all enjoy this. This is a classic, one of Andy's and my own favourite tracks. Hope you enjoy.
Say the hill's too steep to climb. Shining. You say you'd like to see me try. Climbing. You pick the place and I'll choose the time. Just wait a while for the right day. And as I rise above the tree line and the clouds, I look
The world is waiting. The revolution will not be televised. It's happening online. LCR, Liverpool Community Radio, www.l-c-r.co.uk.
You're listening to Starship Prog with me, Dave Carmichael, on LCR, Liverpool Community Radio. Put them both up. Hi everyone, that was Fearless from the album Medal, a classic album from 1971 from Floyd. That was actually from their 6th studio album, so if you think about how much patience the record companies these days lack, so many masterpieces have been lost, or would have been lost, you know. But anyway, enough of that. My guest today is Andy Hesford, a fellow musician and enthusiast of classic prog music. Andy, a lot of people, obviously, the classic bands, and bands like Yes, Floyd, Genesis. Regarding Yes, what got you into them?
Well, you know, when you get certain things which are played, you know, I went to a lot of parties as a teenager. Nowadays, you go along and someone will just maybe put their iPhone onto something and then plug it in and play whatever was in their collection. You could carry around thousands of tunes, and you know, you wouldn't necessarily kill yourself. But I mean, it was almost a must to go to a party and riffle through the record collection and see what was there. And sometimes people would play things, and someone played this track, which I think I understood was called Your Move for a long time, but it is actually part of a suite on it, and it's called I've Seen All Good People. And all of a sudden you realise I'd heard of them but never heard them, and there were other things that sort of unfolded as time went on, which, for example, And You and I and Roundabout and so on, but it was like I'd never heard them, and it was like it was quite overpowering. The harmonies, absolutely wonderful piece of work.
Yeah, I think the thing with Yes was this track, which we'll be playing shortly, is off their 3rd album, the Yes album. It was the first album to actually feature Steve Howe. Steve replaced Peter Banks, who went on to form a band called Flash with Tony Kaye. Unfortunately, Peter died a few years ago. One of the things which was unique about the album was it was the first Yes album to actually not have any cover versions on it, so it was purely original material. This album was also remixed in 2014 by Steve Wilson. There's a bit of a common theme with Steve Wilson when he's not sort of putting together fantastic solo albums or Porcupine Tree albums, wherever he is actually remixing a lot of the classics like Quarter King, Crimson King, a lot of the Yes back catalogue, etc.
He's the first remixer of choice, really, isn't he? I think he understands the structure and he understands the sound textures and soundscapes, doesn't he?
Indeed, yeah. He's one of these people. He doesn't actually look like a frontman, does he? Because he's got glasses and long sort of mousy hair and that. I've seen Porcupine Tree a few times, and it's sort of the way he looks does not sort of make you think, well, there's a rock star, but you know, he's putting together a hell of a lot of great material. I love his stuff with Blackfield as well, with Avi Griffin. That's brilliant stuff as well. What I'd like to do now is let's have a little listen to a classic track. I've Seen All Good People, also known as Your Move. It was released as a single in the States, but this is the album version. No apologies for that. Hope you all enjoy this.
I've seen all good people turn their heads each day, so satisfied I'm on my way. I've seen all good people turn their heads each day, so satisfied I'm on my way.
Take a straight and stronger course to the corner of your life. Make the White Queen run so
You're listening to Starship Prog with me, Dave Carmichael, on LCR, Liverpool Community Radio. Hi everyone, hope you enjoyed that. We were bouncing around and talking about the fantastic harmonies on that track. That was actually the last time Tony Kaye would play for the band until the 90125 album, which featured their first ever #1 single in America, Owner of a Lonely Heart. And Trevor Rabin had replaced Steve Howe on guitar at that point. Trevor Rabin, apart from some fantastic solo albums, also went on to become basically the conductor and music genius behind certain films such as Armageddon, Godzilla, etc. I know that Trevor had actually trained in South Africa as a conductor, etc. So excellent. So we were talking before about the big three bands of the prog era, really. I mean, there were loads of fantastic bands as well, which haven't been mentioned in the same ilk, such as Jethro Tull and that. But the big three were always Genesis, Yes, and Pink Floyd for me. And shortly I'm going to be playing a Genesis track, which will actually feature Phil Collins singing instead of Peter Gabriel for the first time. But we'll come on to that in a minute. What was your views on Genesis yourself, Andy?
Well, I found Genesis, it's interesting because we were talking about Fleetwood Mac as well, because Fleetwood Mac started as a blues band and very much into very serious presentation of the messages in the music. But then through a sort of process of, I suppose, musician changes, emphasis on lyrics, and also emphasis on frontline, they became a band who actually sort of then had three singers, songwriters in the front line and became a totally different band. With Genesis, you can kind of see over a period of time how they changed, because Peter Gabriel was into a more conceptual theatre way of doing things. And to be honest, he was sometimes ridiculed in the music press for dressing up, but to be honest, that was the time it was. It was like, don't talk about flowers, be the flower. And Phil Collins, actually, because of his stage school background, a lot of what he did, he was actually in his element being the front man. You know, you got the impression that, I mean, at first he was a bit shy and quite bewhiskered. And
Hence the beard.
Hence the beard, yeah. I mean, and then all of a sudden he kind of changed his appearance, looked quite sort of dapper, and he was like up for getting the audience dancing. And I mean, it's very hard to equate the two bands. I mean, they are the same band, I mean, if you look at it, but it certainly there's some commonality in the sound. But how they actually performed and how they actually put records out and did the production changed. Yeah.
What I found in Genesis was interesting was that there were 5 songwriters effectively in a band, and having been in a band myself with just 2 of us doing the songwriting, that was bad enough. For 5 of you, no wonder people were wanting to kill each other. Tony Banks.
I know all about that.
Well, you know, it's one of those things, isn't it, where the more you get into music, the more ego you develop, and it's hard sometimes to have the give and take that you have in the early days, because whether it's we're impacted in life by our jobs or whatever, you know, it's a way to express yourself. I'm digging myself in deep here.
Yeah. Well, here's one for you. Do you remember George Harrison, when he was writing songs, and he was trying to make a living when he first broke off from the Beatles, writing songs for other people? And Shirley Bassey had been quite impressed by something, so there was talk of Shirley having a relationship in a musical sense with George in the way in which Bacharach and David had with Dionne Warwick. And then what happened was he wrote a song called Whenever, which was called When Every Song Is Sung. But Shirley didn't really do it, and it ended up where that song fell to Ringo to do. And then George sued him because he didn't like the arrangement, you know. So it comes to something, I think. Yeah, the friendship isn't always guaranteed on business level, you'll also agree as well. Absolutely.
What I'm going to do now is I'm going to play a track from what is actually one of my very favourite albums in the prog world, really. This is from an album called Nenua 3, which was released in 1978. It was the first time, obviously the title indicates the first time that they worked as a trio. Steve Hackett had left after the previous album, which was Wind and Wuthering. This is a track which is a personal favourite of mine. This is called Say It's All Right, Joe. It's a track written predominantly by Mike Rutherford, who later went on to form Mike and the Mechanics. We've all heard a lot of his stuff and that, but this is just a brilliant song. It's got harmonies. It's just got everything that I love about Genesis. It's got the drama and that, and it proved that even without the fantastic Steve Hackett and Peter Gabriel, he could still do something which was a bit special. I think the subsequent albums all had some great tracks on them, but there was quite a few with album fillers. And then number 3, in my view, was the last great Genesis album. Hope you enjoy this.
Say it's alright, Joe. I need another drink to blow on the glass so I know I'm alive. Play me a song, Joe, to fill the hours till morning. Then never again will I bother you. I'll build myself a tower, no way in, no way out. Then my friends can visit me once in a while. Say it's alright, Joe, and need some reassurance. You never know what you might find in the night. I'm just a busy bee, still alive in my heart. I'm looking for some other world to dream out my dreams. There were kings who were laughing in the rain, and they told me I'd come here to lead the parade. And the colors were changing, the sky was in ruins, and the lights were all shining on me and on you. Oh, shine on! Say it's alright, Joe. The night will soon be over, and nothing that no one will ever know. Open my eyes, Joe. I'd like to see the daylight. The clock on the wall says it's time to leave. Never seen the same face twice, never walked the same way. Little love that I have known, I keep to myself. If there's a fire, it's asleep in my bed. I must leave it to burn till it burns itself out. Catch as you can, I'm not staying alone. I'll be coming back early or never at all. Shine
You're listening to Starship Prog with me, Dave Carmichael, on LCR, Liverpool Community Radio. Hi everyone. A bit of a personal choice that. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm sure you did. What did you think of that, And?
I actually was saying that I quite like the electronics in it against the acoustic part. It indicates to me it kept it kind of melodic and sweet. You know, I suppose that's not maybe the best way to describe a Genesis track, but it sounds like they mean it. It sounds really, really good. I quite like it.
I think the thing as well is the use of 12 strings. I mean, that actual album yielded their first ever really big single, which was Follow You, Follow Me, which very catchy, and it was brilliant to see them on the telly all the time on Top of the Pops and that. Just anyone who'd been a fan, you know, even half the Genesis lineup, as you like, was still a bit special. A little while ago, we were just talking about tribute bands, weren't we? And one of the things, I remember going to see the musical box on the Philharmonic movie Lamb Lies Down on Broadway gig, and they were actually permitted by Genesis to actually use the original costumes and light shows, slideshows and all that. We've also talked about Australian Pink Floyd.
Oh yes.
If anyone has not seen them, highly recommend them. It's unfortunately a bit of loss of Rick Wright, and so the people it's impossible really to see the classic lineups. Talking of classic lineups, one of the things that I want to ask you, Andy, is that I want you to put you now in a position that you're a promoter and you are going to put together your 5 acts for the ultimate festival, the Andy Hesford Rock Prog Festival. Who's in it, mate?
God, it's a tough gig, this one, isn't it? It's a tough gig. I would actually say my first choice, I suppose, would be Pink Floyd, but I was trying to think of, when we had a chat about this the other day, I was trying to think of what the movie was called. I said Still Crazy, it wasn't. Strange Fruit, it wasn't. It's called Still Crazy. And it was about a band called Strange Fruit, and he had someone in the band who has had a number of problems, but been brought back for this ultimate gig. And the crowd and the warmth from the crowd and the atmosphere sort of reaffirmed the band's, you know, the band's love to perform, but the audience's love of the band. I would love to bring Pink Floyd back, but I would also love if they said for the encore, so we'd like to introduce someone. They're really a big part of our story, and I know some of you haven't seen for a while. Could you please welcome Mr. Roger Keith Barrett, or was known as Sid Barrett? I mean, wouldn't that be an absolute mind blast? And I mean, he could probably have done, you know, sort of, what was it, Astronomy Domini or whatever like that. You know, I've got a bike. Can you imagine that? I've got a bike, you can ride it if you like.
I remember seeing another tribute band called Off the Wall on the World Cup some years ago, and they were actually doing a lot of the more obscure stuff like Bike, and you know what you're talking about there.
Well, can you imagine
Arnold Lane.
Well, I remember there was one band I actually saw recently, and they did the only cover version they did, and I thought, we're going to do a cover now because no one knows our songs, and they did this Alone in the Clouds So Blue, riding on an eider down. It was flaming, you know, from Piper at the Gates of Dawn. Yippee, you can't see me but I can you. And I'm like, that's good. And then of course you've had a number of Sid Barrett things covered, like the Jesus and Mary Chain, the Vegetable Man, which was Sid Barrett's take on Batman, which was current at the time, you know. So instead of it being da 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 Batman, it'd be like Vegetable Man, where are you? It's, you know, so I actually think it would be great if, of course, Sid had been in better health, generally had been more together, you know, to bring him back for that gig, you know, and also it would have affirmed, because I got a sense from watching them at Live 8, I got the sense that the intensity of the band's love of performing, but the intensity of the audience, it was one of those moments where you wish you were there and they didn't have like a mob full of celebs all around the place, you know, sort of Victoria Beckham pretending that she actually liked Pink Floyd, which I don't think she probably did. You know, it would have been better to have it sort of where the fans were there, closer to it, you know. But that's just my own opinion.
Yeah, so like we've got Pink Floyd with Barrett, fantastic choice. Who's next?
I'd love to see the Genesis lineups, but you know, sort of like a generational thing. Where he had Anthony Phillips, who left in 1970, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And
just after Trespass.
Just after Trespass, and then you had the likes of can't think of the name now, Steve Hackett, and so on, and had all these people who were all part of the band at different times, and say you went through the catalogue, so you say went from Genesis to Revelation through to Calling All Stations maybe, and there wouldn't be any insults.
You wouldn't be able to fit it in a concert though, would you?
Yeah, but you don't need to perform every album. You can perform like 1 or 2 tracks from each album, you know.
Yeah.
So in other words, a generational thing, you know, Star Trek the next generation, but Genesis the next generation and the generation after that. I quite fancy the idea of that. But you know that the real sort of accolades would be for something like Turn It On Again or Follow You, Follow Me or whatever, you know.
And Supper's Ready, in my
Supper's
opinion.
Ready.
Supper Ready is my favourite ever prog rock track from any band of all time. They'd have to do that.
Well, in that case, it has to be for you. There you are, Dave.
But
We've got agreements on that one. I mentioned about Thin Lizzy too. The one problem with Thin Lizzy, there were lots of lineups, but there was only one Phil Lynott. And I know that Limehouse Lizzy and all the various tribute acts have tried to get near it. The fact is, with Phil Lynott, he was so cool, wasn't he? You know, he was definitely, he loved being a rock star, didn't he? He was so cool, but he was also, it was the way in which the twin guitar attack plus the sort of performing pitch. I wasn't very kind about Live and Dangerous. I take that back, because they were pretty formidable. I think it was just that with Live and Dangerous, it started off with Phil saying, "Oh, I don't like that bass line, can I do it again? Oh, can I do my guitar thing again?" So they'd end up, they build it up, but they chose to do that because they wanted something good for the fans to buy.
Yeah.
You know, that was all it was. And the type of glitches which you and I noticed when we played live, and you played live recently, I played live recently, and you think, oh, I do wish I put the 7th on there instead.
You're always your worst critic.
Oh, you know, I should have done 2 steps on that bass line instead of 1. And you end up where you're critical, but then you think it's gone out, it's expelled to it, and people didn't notice anyway. They probably thought it was sort of idiosyncrasy in the way you play it, so they didn't notice. You know, they thought, oh, that guitar's really good, and you're meanwhile thinking, oh, I should have selected that pickup voice or whatever, you know. I should have put my pedal down.
So far we've got Pink Floyd, Genesis, Thin Lizzy, who else?
Right, the Beatles, but not the Beatles of the early era. I mean, we know that there's a product come out in about 6 weeks where they're doing a video of the album 1. All the tracks, all the original promos are now going to be available. And there's a live project which has been in the works for at least 2 years. Everyone thinks of the Beatles, Beatlemania years. I'm thinking in terms of when you see the rooftop concert at which they do Get Back and various tracks from the Let It Be album, I'm thinking, wouldn't it be great if you could have the Beatles of the late era Beatles perform a live concert? So they do stuff from the live album, from the White Album, from Sgt. Pepper, Abbey Road, Let It Be. Maybe even a couple of things which were selected for solo albums. In the case of John Lennon, he'd written Child of Nature, which you're looking at a bit askance there, but Child of Nature became another song. I'm just a child of nature, Jealous Guy, right?
Yeah.
And likewise, Paul McCartney had written things like Another Day and stuff well before he did them as solo tracks. So it'd be great to have the late Beatles as a performing band.
That's a hell of a lineup. So who's going to be your 5th?
Now, I remember I did say originally The Who, but, you know, you could see The Who any day of the week, really. No disrespect. But, I mean, I suppose I should really put them back in because you need something to really kick some backside. But, I mean, I'd love to have the Sex Pistols on if possible. And the reason for that is because I think everyone has a starting point for how they sort of go across into being adults. I still think Pink Floyd did Animals at the time when punk broke. And I think the Pink Floyd's Animals is their punk album.
I think it's the best punk album ever made. It's an incredible album.
I mean, what was that parody of the Lord's Prayer? You know,
yeah, on sheep.
You know, the Lord is my shepherd; He converted me to nut cutlets. Things like that. I actually think that there's a lot to be said for the attitude. It's the attitude, not the dress, is it? You know, I mean, the Stranglers. Everyone thought the Stranglers were a punk band. They're not. They were progressive with punk leanings. You know, I mean, you only had to hear what they were doing. If they'd sang something like Something Better Change in 4-part harmony, you wouldn't have thought it was a punk track, would you?
Absolutely, yeah.
Sitting on the beaches, looking at the peaches. Wouldn't have worked.
What I'd like to do now is I want to play a classic track from a classic prog band, a band called Caravan, They were part of the Canterbury scene. A little bit of a link into to Pink Floyd, if you like, is the Canterbury scene also featured a lot of people from the likes of Soft Machine and that. Sid Barrett, was Dave Gilmour,
Kevin Ayres.
Yes, indeed. They were all sort of linked into this, so it's a bit of a tenuous link. Caravan, their classic album, if you like, their equivalent of Dark Side of the Moon or Yes, It's Close the Edge, is an album which they released in 1971 called Land of the Pink and Grey. It was their third album. The cover, bit weird. It was a sort of token sort of influenced painting. Again, another link to Steve Wilson. He actually remixed their 40th anniversary remix of it, so has a lot of heritage. This is the title track. This is the last album to actually feature the original lineup of Richard Coughlan, Pi Hastings, Richard Sinclair and David Sinclair. So I hope you enjoy this. This is quite an English track. It's very, very much a quaint English piece of fantastic music. Hope you enjoy this.
Pink, where only Boy Scouts stop to think they'll be coming back again. Those nasty, grumbly grimblies, and they're climbing down your chimney. Guess they're trying to get in. Come to take your money, isn't it a sin? They're so thin. There's black buckets in the sky. Don't leave your dad in the cigarettes burn bright tonight. They'll all get washed down the drain. So we sail away for just one day to the land where the buckwheat grows. You won't need any money, just fingers and your toes. And when it's dark, our boat will park on a land of warm and green. And pick our fill of punkweed and smoke it till we bleed. That's all we'll need. While sailing back in morning light, we'll wash our teeth in the sea. And when the day gets really bright, we'll go to sea drinking. sailed away for just one day to the land where the buckwheat grows. Won't need any money, just fingers and your toes. And when it's dark, our boat will park on a land of warm and green. Pick our fill of punkweed and smoke it till we bleed. That's all we'll need. There's black buckets in the sky. Don't leave your dad in the rain. Cigarettes burn bright tonight. They'll all get washed down the drain.
You're listening to Starship Prog with me, Dave Carmichael, on LCR, Liverpool Community Radio. Hi everyone, I hope you enjoyed that. What do you think of that, Ant?
I thought that was very good, actually. I mean, I was joking with you and saying it reminded me of something I'd written. You know, when you always think, oh, I hope it doesn't sound like anyone else's, but, you know, and then you get a shock like that. I think it's wonderfully played, and his voice is very, very English, isn't it? It's in a tradition of great prog writing. You know, he was saying about American psychedelia versus British psychedelia. American psychedelia, what everyone thought was psychedelic was really chunka blues, very loud. You know, I love you like a ball and chain, or country music. You know, a lot of the Grateful Dead stuff, actually, the early stuff sounds like that. But it seems that our side of it was all about, you know, show me that I'm everywhere and get me home for tea. You know, it's very sort of based on ice cream van jingles. You know, when you listen to that, you can sense that couldn't have been made anywhere but in England, and certainly in Canterbury. You know, what I want to do now, I want to play something a little bit more obscure. It's from one of my favourite bands and albums. It's a band called the Flower Kings, and it's from an album called Space Revolver, which was done in 2000. It was their fifth studio album. I know you love good harmonies and that, so you're going to love this, because I don't think you've heard it before. This band was actually set up as a backing band originally for a fantastic guitar player called Ronnie Stoltz. Ronnie is actually a massive fan of bands like Yes and King Crimson, Metallica, all this. If you listen to this, go and buy this album at Andy Sherritt if you're out there listening, because this one, you will absolutely love it. Ronnie also plays for a sort of modern prog rock supergroup called Transatlantic, which features members of Dream Theater, Spock's Beard, Marillion. But this one is heavy on, it's a little bit different than some of the other stuff, but if you like harmonies and that, this is going to be one which you'll take note of. This is called You Don't Know What You've Got by the Flower Kings.
Du lägger du på 9, va? På samma.
Stay forever true to you. Your velvet touch make me feel brand new. I don't wanna wait until tomorrow. You don't know what you got until it's gone. I wanna put an end to all the sorrow you've done me wrong. Let's drift away on the ocean, sail away to the night. Let's live just for the moment, 'cause you don't know what you got. You don't know what you got. In the the light.
Assess the light.
I'll sacrifice all I got for the day turns to night.
Day turns to night.
I don't wanna wait until tomorrow. You don't know what you got until it's gone. I wanna put an end to all the sorrow you've done wrong. But now I'm flying in a purple sky, trying to find the truth in the corner of your eye. I found out I'll never walk alone, 'cause you don't know what you've got. You don't know what you got until it's gone.
You're listening to Starship Prog with me, Dave Carmichael, on LCR, Liverpool Community Radio. Hi everyone. Sadly, it's nearly time to finish this particular voyage. Time's gone so fast, but there's going to be many more voyages, and I'm sure I'll have some more with my fantastic guest here, Andy. Have you enjoyed the show, Andy?
I've really enjoyed it. Yeah, it's nice to indulge, isn't it? Now, once in a while, you know, certainly if you like a type of music, and you know, we're now in a period of time where every type of music is up for grabs. So you get a lot of modern bands who are considered progressive in the old style of the and use of the word, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, what I'm going to finish with now, because time is ticking away, is another favourite of mine. We played some Genesis earlier with Phil Collins singing, and Peter Gabriel had actually left the band and done a number of solo bits and bobs. This is a track which is he did an album in 1980, which is his third album, it has a photo on it of him looking as if he's melting, so a lot of people refer to it as a melt album. It's an album which featured Robert Fripp on guitar, Tony Levin on bass. It's quite sinister. One of the things he wanted on it was to have heavy percussion effects without the use of cymbals. This is a track called No Self-Control. Look forward to seeing you all on the next voyage, which will be in the very near future. Hopefully have some big news on Gong, but we shall have to see. Don't forget to go and see them at the Casimir on the 3rd of November. They are fantastic. This is No Self-Control. I'm losing mine now. See you soon, guys. Bye now.
Gotta get some food, I'm so hungry all the time. I don't know how to stop, I don't know how to stop. Gotta get some sleep, I'm so nervous in the night. And I don't know how to stop, I don't know how to stop. I don't know how to stop, I don't know how to stop. Pick up the phone, I will call any number, I will talk to anyone. I know I hate to hurt you, I hate to see your pain, but I don't